Hey, what is up? It's Zach, your YouTube foot doctor. One of the most common questions I get in the comment section down below, as well as just in my office, is can you use a tennis court shoe on the basketball court, and vice versa, can you use a hoop shoe on the tennis court? And I really think I found the two perfect shoes to explore that question with. Now, Kyrie Irving is an absolute beast when it comes to launching signature shoes, and has even reached into the tennis space with his collab a few years ago with Nick Kyrgios around the US Open for the Vapor 10. When I was finally able to get my hands on the Kyrie Vapor 10 collab, I was really impressed, number one, just with the colorways and all the Easter eggs you can find in this shoe, but number two, his interpretation of the uppers. Remember, this leaflet design is borrowed from previous versions of the Kyrie line. So I really think these two shoes are perfect to see what are the common threads, number one, between Kyrie's basketball and tennis lines, but also just the crossovers and dissimilarities between tennis court shoes and basketball shoes in general. All right, so getting into the uppers of the 7s as well as the Vapor 10, remember, in a tennis court shoe, you want two things: strength and breathability. Strength, number one, to hold your foot in, number two, to resist wear from drag and friction, and breathability just because tennis courts get hot. Now, on a basketball shoe, as in the Kyrie 7, you also want strength and breathability, more strength from weight of body weight forces, as well as other people potentially trampling on your foot. And in the Kyrie Vapor 10, you can really see what their priorities are. Remember, you have this double down lacing system where, number one, the shoelace eyelets interact with the shoelace, but also they interact with this leaflet. So when you tie the laces down, number one, you're tying the lace line, but also you're tying the arch down. So you are getting a ton of vacuum seal around the midfoot, which does resist forces going side to side on a tennis court. Now, as you can see here on the Kyrie 7 in the basketball line, the priorities are completely different. The really only big reinforced area here is, number one, where you're going to potentially have to push off of the midfoot when you're getting into awkward position, and number two, the reinforced lace line here in the midfoot to prevent that twisting injury in the midfoot. Now, also remember, these are a mid-top, so they do have a ton more material up here in the ankle, and that's why the forefoot here, the vamp of the shoe, is a little bit more mesh, because they're trying to keep the shoe more breathable and more light while still giving you a ton of protection from other people's feet. Now, in the upper durability test of the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, on the Vapor 10, it's got a toe cap guard, about a millimeter of damage, so this is going to resist a lot of friction, whereas on the Kyrie 7, the Dremel went right through that mesh layer all the way into the inner side of the upper of the shoe. Now, the one thing saving the Kyrie 7 is it does have a pretty big guard here of rubber. However, if you are a toe dragger, that rubber does not come all the way up on the toe cap, so you're still going to burn through these a lot quicker than on the Vapor 10. But all those differences in the uppers brings us to our first real performance difference between the two shoes. If you look at the suicide test, the Kyrie Vapor 10 is like a Red Bull F1 car compared to the Kyrie 7's like Toyota Sienna. Now, the Kyrie 7 is unreal at making short, quick changes of direction on turns. It was just unreal. The really tactile uppers, the plastic reinforcement Zoom turbo unit, which we'll talk about in a second, and the outsole just grips so well in those tight, confined spaces. However, the Vapor 10 is just made for speed. It's super aerodynamic, it's a more nimble shoe, just cuts through the air a lot better. So on the straightaways, the Vapor 10 just has just enough grip on those outdoor surfaces that you can take turns pretty fast, but also on the straightaways really start to pick up speed. But interestingly enough, even with all that added material to the Kyrie 7 to make it a mid-top, they still only heated up 1.5 degrees more than the Kyrie Vapor 10, just showing you how good the engineering is of the uppers of the Kyrie 7 to keep this shoe breathable, but also really protective. And with the mid-top construction of the Kyrie 7s, you really are getting a ton of biofeedback with all that material coming around your ankle. So if you're trying to pivot away, trying to pivot out of an awkward position, maybe you're being guarded really heavily and you're making a lot of short movements, or you're just in an awkward position trying to get yourself into a correct position to hit a really squared up jump shot, the Kyrie 7s are going to give you all that biofeedback. You're going to get all that tactile sensation without sacrificing a lot of the weight. Remember, the Kyrie 7s are only coming in around 12 ounces in that 10.5 size shoe for men. They're great for those short pivoting movements, especially on the basketball court, but even on the pickleball court too. So you're seeing these shoes are getting really versatile, because in pickleball, it is a lot of short pivoting movements, hop, skips, and a jump. You're really trying to get out of an awkward position, or you're on one foot just trying to dart in a short court. So a shoe like the Kyrie 7, that mid-top construction in a short court setting, is just vastly superior to something on the low top category of the Vapor 10 just because you can really throw your body around a little bit more and just know that that shoe is kind of going to pick up a little bit of the slack, whereas the Vapor 10, as we'll see in that low top construction, it really rewards the long form movement, but short court movement, sometimes it's just not as secure. Now, getting into the midsole teardown, you can really see where the priorities are between these two shoes. And on the Kyrie 7, you got only a 2.2 centimeter heel height, but only a 0.2 centimeter heel to toe drop. So you have an incredible amount of foam in the midfoot of this shoe. And on the Kyrie 7, the Zoom Turbo unit is in the forefoot, owing to all the quick jumping and forefoot movement demands of basketball. Also, this is a turbo unit, which is undulating and allows for more degrees of movement and better bounce when you're in more awkward positions. But in the teardown of the Kyrie Vapor 10, the Zoom unit is in the heel, which number one is an older and easier design to create, but also tennis is of course supposed to be spent on the balls of your foot, but a lot of time you do need a stable heel, and more importantly, you need to be able to push off of your heel. And those differences in the midsole aren't just data points either. Look at the serve test. Kyrie 7, 31 centimeters on the serve test, owing to the bounce of that Zoom Turbo unit. All that air tension in the forefoot does give you a little bit more pop. Whereas on the Kyrie Vapor 10s, only 27.5, just the same as all the other Vapor 10s that I've tested this year. Now remember, the Kyrie 7s do have a little more volume in the forefoot, just volume of foam in general, in the midfoot of the shoe. The one thing it doesn't have is a shank here on the medial side like the Vapor 10. It does have some plastic reinforcement on the outside to prevent Liz Frank injuries and just ankle sprains in general. However, the shoe is going to bottom out in that midfoot a little quicker than something with this polypropylene shank here on the Vapor 10. Also, a shank in there would give it just a little bit more bounce and just keep the shoe newer for longer. So that's something you got to watch out for. But by far the biggest difference between these two shoes is the outsole tread. If you look at the Kyrie's tread, look how shallow that tread depth is. Also, because hoop shoes are meant to be worn not only on hard top but on hard wood, they have to be a little spongier and softer in the rubber. And because of this, you can get away with some more interesting tread patterns. Like this non-geometric CAD CAM design of the Kyrie 7. You can almost feel it suctioning to the ground versus on a tennis shoe. Now contrast that to the aggro crag pattern on the Vapor 10. Now the Vapor 10's treads aren't even nearly the deepest I've seen this year. However, compared to the Kyrie 7s, they're like the Grand Canyon. And just check out the outsole durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. The Dremel bit all the way through the Kyrie 7 tread down to the base. That has never happened to any tennis shoe I've tried this year, even the least durable ones. Whereas here on the Vapor 10, which is just a middle of the road durability shoe in terms of tennis, only about a millimeter of damage. So as you can see here on the tennis shoe line, the Vapor line, the rubber just has a higher durometer, which is a scale of hardness, as well as a thicker tread depth. So as you can see, the tennis shoe is just made for sliding and friction, whereas the basketball shoe, the 7s, are made for grip. And that's where the Vapor 10 really does start to take over from the Kyrie 7, whereas the Kyrie 7 in a few months, or even sooner if you're a real squeaky type player, is going to be bottomed out and on your shelf. The Vapor 10 is still going to be giving you exceptional durability and traction after a few months here on the outdoor basketball court, especially with that aggro crag pattern and the outsole base shank. It's going to give you a lot of grip, even in an awkward position. Now, especially also with the Vapor 10 that I want to put mention is when you're playing full court and you're trying to catch up to somebody or get down the court really fast, the Vapor 10 is obviously going to give you a little bit more speed going from post to post. So I really think you have to weigh the pros and the cons like we said before in the video. The Vapor 10 over the long run is going to be gripping this court a lot better and giving you a lot more speed over a longer period of time. Now, I absolutely loved getting both these shoes on the tennis court. It really highlighted the differences, and both of them were a ton of fun to play in. The Kyrie 7 is actually not a bad tennis shoe whatsoever, especially if you play a more baseline style game, if you're moving side to side a lot. Even if you play an all-court game, if you're up in the mid-court trying to get down low for balls or in awkward positions, these shoes are really going to give you a lot of security, a lot of tactile feedback, kind of like the Onyx Fusion Rev 4. Especially with a little bit of the wider heel, you really do have a stable base. Now, the one thing the Kyrie 7s are not great at is speed, obviously. So if you're a retriever on the baseline, if you're just going post to post, you're someone like Rafa Nadal, these shoes just aren't going to be that great for you. You just can't generate that kind kind of speed. Even serving and volleying, when you come down off your serve, the Kyrie 7s just can't move quick enough. Even with the Zoom Turbo unit, all the material around the mid-top, the shoe is just a little bit too constrictive to close the net really quick. Whereas the Vapor 10 is just so nimble with serving and volleying. As soon as you come down, you really feel light on your feet and you can close the net really quick. Someone who's a baseline grinder or a baseline retriever in the Vapor 10 is going to get a ton of speed going post to post from sideline to sideline. So I really think in terms of a speed shoe, I mean, the Vapor 10 or any low top tennis shoe, lighter tennis shoe, is going to give you a lot more speed options than the Kyrie 7. However, the Kyrie 7, if you're someone who's a bigger frame player or someone who's just kind of stalking the baseline and kind of staying in one area and really trying to plant your foot and kind of get in that great position in more awkward shots, yeah, then the Kyrie 7 is a fantastic option on the tennis court. If you're looking for more speed, then you kind of got to go with the traditional tennis construct. By far the most common question I get asked is, if I'm a chronic ankle sprainer, if I'm trying to prevent ankle sprains, do I go with the mid or higher top shoe? And that's an interesting question because mid and high tops don't prevent ankle sprains. It's harder to sprain your ankle in a mid or higher top shoe, obviously, because there's just more material around your ankle. However, when coming down off of a layup or off of a rebound or going side to side in a tennis court and stopping on a dime, the materials in the upper are no match for your body weight. So a lot of times, if you are going to sprain your ankle, if you're in that position, you're going to sprain it regardless if you have a mid or higher top shoe. Just look at the NBA and how many ankle injuries they get despite the higher tops. Now, like I said, obviously you're going to get a little bit more what's called biofeedback from the shoe, which means that the nerves in your ankle and your midfoot and rear foot are going to just get more tactile sensation because there's more points of reference. So your brain is going to know where your body is in space better with the mid or higher top shoe. But in terms of actually preventing the ankle sprain, look, this material just isn't going to stop your ankle from rolling. Like I said, it's going to be harder, but it won't necessarily stop it. Now, honestly, both these shoes are incredibly versatile. The Kyrie 7, yeah, it's got some durability issues when you're going on outdoor courts. So if you do want to play with these for outdoor tennis, basketball, pickleball, remember the grittier the court, the more sand in it, the faster this is going to have to be replaced. And honestly, in comparison to most tennis shoes, these are going to have to be replaced pretty fast. However, if you're looking for the ultimate in versatility, the Kyrie 7s do give you a ton of options. And to be honest, if I had to pick one of these two to play pickleball in, I think I would lean more toward the Kyrie 7 just because those quick short movements kind of a lot easier and more fun in the Kyrie 7. And on a tennis court, I still would pick the Vapor 10. It's just a much faster shoe, more versatile shoe for tennis. The Kyrie 7, yeah, you can play great tennis in the Kyrie 7. Just don't expect to get to the net very fast and don't expect to pick up speed really quick. And also don't expect it to last you very long, even if you're not a hard court slider. If you just drag into your serve or toe drag any type of shot, even a slice backhand, Kyrie 7 is going to break down pretty quick. It's going to wear down on the uppers pretty quick. Now, on an outdoor basketball court, honestly, I'd probably take the Kyrie 7 over the Vapor 10 specifically. However, the Vapor 10s are not the best outdoor basketball shoes. They don't even crack the top 5. Now, if you want to see my top 5 shoes for outdoor basketball, make sure you click into the playlist up above and subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.